Welcome to Hey, That's Me, a commentary podcast. I'm Patrick Hotner.
I'm Brian Lynch.
Today, I'm very excited for today's episode.
This was great. This made me watch a show I've never watched before, and I love this show.
This is a podcast where we do commentaries on movies or TV shows with people from those movies and TV shows who never got to do commentaries on them. We have one rule, and it's that when the person sees themselves on screen or sees their credit on screen, hey, that's me. We're watching the pilot of The West Wing with costume designer Lyn Paolo.
Emmy-winning costume designer.
Really good at her job, and it's very nice to talk to someone who's just like top of their field.
Right.
You know? Someone who's very good at what they do, and everyone knows that they're very good at what they do.
Do you think that's why we're friends? Because you want to talk to me because I'm at the top of my field?
What's your field again?
I'm a screenwriter.
Oh.
I've never won an award, but my movies have won Nickelodeon awards.
You're supposed to say your field is podcasting, Brian.
Oh, go again.
What's your field again?
Podcasting, Brian.
Lyn's very good at this, though. I think this is her second ever podcast.
Yeah, and she forgot that she did one.
And her first one was The West Wing Weekly, which is the Josh Malina, Rishikesh Hirway podcast, which is also great. And she talks about the episode that she was nominated for. I think it's the State Dinner. I think it's episode 7 of
I've heard
season 1.
every episode of that podcast, but I've never seen the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very confused.
Going into this, what did you think you knew about West Wing that watching it was maybe not true?
Well, my sister tells me every conversation we have that I need to watch it.
Yeah.
And so I knew it was going to be really good.
Yeah.
But I always just pictured Martin Sheen walking down a hall and Rob Lowe and the bad guy from Billy Madison following him, nodding. That's what I picture in The West Wing. And it didn't get that. It wasn't that at all.
Yeah.
But it was so good. Everybody was so good. Like, I've worked with Alison Janney before.
Yeah.
But even you see her in a new light on this. I guess this is what everybody fell in love with her in, other than Private Parts with Howard Stern movies. She was, I'm just kidding.
But she'd been in a few things.
Right. But this was the one that everybody,
100%,
that everyone recognized her talent.
It's a cast that you're looking back on it now being like, oh man, so many heavy hitters, so many all-stars. But when it was coming out, most of them were like character actors or like not working a ton. But, you know, they were around, but they were not household names, which I think they became once this show started, winning every frickin' Emmy award possible.
I guess I knew Bradley Whitford from Billy Madison.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that he was so lovable in this. Yeah, he's so likable in it. Yeah.
He's very good at both.
Yes.
He's very good at being a prick, but also being lovable,
Lovable prick.
A lovable prick. I mean, that's kind of what he is in West Wing.
Also, John Spencer's in it, and he's been my favorite on LA Law forever, and I'm sad that he's gone, but I just love seeing him.
He's so good on this show.
And she's one of the best in the business, Lyn, at what she does.
Yeah, absolutely.
If not the best.
Yeah, maybe the best. I mean, we talk about it in the episode how she has become like the White House lady now.
Yeah.
She works on Scandal. She's doing a new White House show now. Like, you go to her when you need that kind of costuming, and she's worked on so many, ER and Bridgerton, a bunch of those shows.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yes, I didn't know that until after we recorded. She designed the costumes for Grand Theft Auto 5.
Isn't that amazing?
It's insane, and I was so mad that I didn't know when we recorded.
I was trying to think of how we could possibly get her back to do that, but how do you...
can
we watch cutscenes on YouTube with her?
I don't know. Could, but it's hard. Really fascinating career, and someone different than other people that we've had on the show. Like, this show's, we've had a lot of writers and actors and directors and stuff like that, but really digging into the crew aspect of it is interesting because it's such a different experience for them.
Were you surprised by when we weren't recording how much she was raving about my clothing?
Oh, was she? I missed all that.
Wait, what do you mean?
Oh, I missed all that.
Oh, you're just being jealous. That's fine.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah. She said I really put together a nice package.
I think
what she said.
Did both dress up nicer that day.
A little nicer, yeah.
We did.
We had a tour. We had a double header that day, so we wanted to look nice for both.
That's true.
Of them. Yeah.
This is available on Max. It just came out on Blu-ray. It's on DVD, obviously, and you can get it on Amazon and some other places too. But Max is probably the easiest at the moment. We're watching the pilot episode, so if you pull that up, we're gonna start it in 3, 2, 1, go. Cool. All right, guys. So we're here. We're watching the West Wing pilot. Just so everyone knows whose voice is whose, I'm Patrick.
I am Brian.
And I'm Lyn Paolo.
Now, Lyn, how did this job come about for you?
So I am super, super lucky in that I've been working with John Wells 30 years
Oh, wow.
now. And I had just finished a pilot with him called Mystery Dance with Jane Curtin and Peter Regan. And he
Cool
had said to
cast.
me, I know, it was such a cool
That's
cast.
cool.
They were amazing.
Yeah.
And then he offered me ER, just
Yeah.
an offer.
Yeah.
So season 3 of ER, we're at, I think it was 3 or 4 of ER, we're at the posh commissary at Warner
Mhm,
Brothers, you know,
mhm.
not the common misery as we refer to it. And we're saying goodbye to Jeannie Belay, the
Mhm.
character Jeannie Belay. She was there, big party. And John was standing next to me and said, got this new show we're thinking of doing. Would you want to do a second show? And I went, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No clue what it was.
Sure.
Nothing at all. And so it was handed to me.
Wow.
It wasn't even an interview it was just, you know, I'd worked with Tommy Schlamme before. I'd
Yeah.
worked with John. And he goes, well, I've got this writer I want you to meet. And I met with Aaron and that was it.
I mean,
not
that's-
even a board or
That's
a, you know.
the easiest way to get a job. I
Right.
feel like, right?
Yeah. Oh.
What was the first thing you had to do for this? Like did you read the pilot and start breaking down the characters in terms of what you thought they should wear?
Yeah, I read the pilot and it changed quite a bit from the initial script to the, you know, the final
Mhm.
filming script or the production script. And in my stupidity, I thought, well, I don't know why we're doing this. Because the script was amazing
Right.
and I loved it, but it was right during, you know, the Clinton,
Mhm.
Monica Lewinsky.
Right.
And I thought, oh, gosh, nobody's going to. Why would
Yeah.
anybody want to watch a show about DC? Because I always thought that studios should ask me to read scripts. And if I said I didn't like it, then they should go ahead and produce it. Even though it was beautiful and I loved every second of reading the script, I just didn't know if it had an audience.
No. It did. The spoilers, it did have
It
an
did it?
audience.
Did
yeah,
it?
it worked out really well.
It did fine. Worked out really fine.
Bradley Whitford's on the screen right now. Now,
Yeah.
I read that when he started this and he talked to you for about a half hour about his character's shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what helped him find it.
Bradley is not the only actor who everything revolves for them around their shoes, like feeling like, would this person really wear these shoes? Can I stand in this person's feet? Can I be this person? Can I look down at these shoes and think, yeah, this is the guy? And that's just his process, you know? And I think he's literally not the only actor. I've had that conversation with Ray Liotta, with many, many actors.
Wow.
They always, because they need to feel comfortable.
Sure. When you're getting hired as a costume designer with someone that you've never worked with, like it's just a cold hiring.
Yeah.
What is the thing that you use to sell yourself? Do you like make a lookbook for them? Do you just talk to them about the characters? Like, how do you pitch yourself as being, I'm the one for this?
I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
So I get exceptionally nervous.
Uh-huh.
Every show is different, is what I would say, depending on what the producer's expectations are.
Mm.
A lot of producers want to see images and they want you to walk them through, like, this is my idea for this character or that character. But I always preface that with, I don't know what you have in your head.
Mhm.
And I always feel like those things should be more of a discussion than me saying, this is definitely what we're going to do.
Sure.
And it's just a bit of a process. It's nerve-wracking. And I think a lot of it really in the end is personality in the room, whether they feel that you're open to their ideas.
How many people did you have on your team for this show? I'm sure it varied through the years, but
Back then we had really small teams
Yeah.
compared to what's on a show now. I mean, we only had 2 set people.
oh wow.
It was myself, 1 supervisor, and I think I think there were 5 of us
Wow.
in the office. Now you'd have 12
Sure.
people. And I'm not quite sure how that happened, but crews seem to just be getting bigger, don't they?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, well, and you see the budgets and you're like, well, that's why that costs so much money is because there were
Yeah.
12 people on that.
And shows are just bigger anyway, don't
Sure.
you feel? Like
Yeah.
the locations
Yeah.
and the...
Because most of this was LA and then they would do a few weeks of DC or a few days of DC
Yeah.
each season.
Most of this was on the Warner Brothers backlot,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. And then I think we only went to DC for 2 days,
Wow.
something like that.
And you went with them?
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
pilot, we all went. And it was great. And we had access to, because it was still the Clinton administration. We got to see inside the White House, inside Air Force One.
That's
Throughout
cool.
when President Bush came into power during the show, all access was stopped,
Oh, wow.
which
Oh,
is
wow.
interesting.
Hmm.
So Clinton's administration was very excited about this show.
Very, very keen on the show. And I actually got to visit the Houses of Parliament in England and got tours because at the time Tony Blair was obsessed by the West Wing, and they would have West Wing parties in London. So
that's amazing.
I know.
I mean,
great.
my aunt lived in London, still does, but lived there when the show was airing, and we would always have to send the DVDs over.
Sure.
Because the DVDs here came out like 8 months before they came out in London. So she like had to buy the universal DVD player, and like it was huge over there. They all loved it over there.
Oh, I love John Spencer's face.
Yeah.
Look at him. This is my favorite. The beginning of this show is just this long, long, long shot that he pulled off the very first day of filming. That was the first thing we shot.
Do you remember how many takes?
I think it was like the first take. Tommy Schlamme said that was perfect, and then we did like Tommy loves to. Then we did a bunch more, but I kind of feel like they went with the very first one.
Wow. So what is the difference between a Leo suit and a Toby suit, or a Leo suit and a Josh suit? Like, how do you? Because this show is a lot of suits and a lot of ties and a lot, how does that stay exciting for you, and how do you differentiate who should be wearing what type of thing?
I'm quite tricky about that. And once a character is established, we stick to it. And it's funny, even on Scandal, people say to me, oh, we knew that was a fit suit. And, that was. So on this, Josh or Brad was always in Hugo Boss. That was it. Okay. Hugo Boss, everything. Toby was in actually sport coats and slacks. He was not a suit guy.
Sure.
And then John Spencer was, I'm trying to remember now, but I think Brooks Brothers, we started with Brooks Brothers. And then as time went on, he ended up in Canali. But every single actor on the show had a different designer as their designer. Wow. And we stuck to it all the way through. And by the way, the actors loved that because even when they would come down to my office, there'd be racks of clothes outside, Brad would say, oh, that's my rolling, they could spot it. It was fun.
That's so interesting.
Do like different clothes companies fight for that to be the suit that Bradley Whitford wears, or
if the show's a hit?
You're right. Okay, so not the first season.
No,
okay,
never on the first season. I mean, very rarely, unless you have I don't know, Clooney or someone on the show. No one's throwing. And really, back then, people did throw clothes at you and shoes, but not so much now.
So would you go source all of this stuff, or it wasn't just like Warner Brothers archive?
Oh gosh,
suits or whatever. No, it was all.
No, you have to remember that we shot one story day in each of these episodes, but we would take 12 to maybe 15 days to film one episode. So you had to have multiples for everyone.
Sure.
So you purchased. I can actually, when I go downstairs in Warner Brothers, so many of these suits are still there.
Oh, wow.
And when I was doing Little Fires Everywhere, it was early 90s. Anyone who was wearing a suit, I said, you got to go back to Warner Brothers and pull from there because I know it's there.
That's
It's amazing.
Because it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of costumes in there. It's like all underground and stuff. Yeah.
Enormous. And I can still sometimes, John would wear Eau de Sauvage and he used to sort of pour it on himself. I don't know. I think because he smoked and he didn't want anyone to smell the smoke.
Oh, it wasn't part of a character. It was just, okay.
Yeah.
And I still get a faint whiff of that as I go past the suiting downstairs.
But that's got to be comforting a little bit. You get to, how, do you have a favorite lot that you've worked on?
I'm a Warner Brothers fan.
Exclusively
through
Warner
and
Brothers.
through.
Yeah.
I've spent so much of my career there. I'm there now.
Yeah.
I'm filming there as we speak.
That's cool.
Can we talk about Allison Janney?
Oh my God. It's
her
birthday this week. Happy birthday, Allison. She is, well, first of all, so talented, unbelievably talented, unbelievably funny, and just the nicest, kindest, sweetest person on the planet. Delightful human. All of them were. It was a really lovely group, I've got to say. I've been so fortunate in my career that it's not just this group, but the ER group, the Scandal group. Everyone I've worked with, we've sort of created our own little family on each show, which is sort of a blessing. She spends so much time together.
And you've gotten to work with a lot of the same people over and over again, too, which has got to be easier for you.
Yeah, I mean, Bradley was on Shameless.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So Studio 60, West Wing, Shameless. Yeah. Wow.
That's the Bradley Whitford Lyn trilogy.
Yes.
Richard Schiff there. Did you hear my story about Richard coming in for his first fitting?
No.
Did you hear?
No.
So, he won't mind me saying this. I think it's in the West Wing book that he can be a little bit of a curmudgeon.
Sure.
And he admits that. And he came into the fitting room at Warner Brothers. And first time I'm meeting him, and I said, "It's a pleasure to meet you. And come on in." And there were maybe 12 racks of clothes in there. And he just looked around the room and went, "There's nothing in here that's going to work for him." Which is highly amusing. And we said, "Okay, well, let's just sit down and talk about it, shall we?" And we were like, 2 hours later, he walked out of the room and he goes, "I loved everything."
That's
Like,
amazing.
it was so funny.
Is that a scary moment for you, though? Where you go like, "Oh, we got to try this again. We got to go back to the stage one"?
I think when I was younger, it was scary. But after doing as many shows as I have, I usually always say, "Okay, well, let's just sit down. Let's talk about it. Like, what are you feeling?" And then we walk through the racks. And I would say 99% of the time, you end up being successful.
Yeah.
I think it's more the actor is nervous.
Sure.
And you have to make them feel comfortable and safe in your hands. And that, nothing's going to leave that room. Anything that, actually, I've just told that story after I said I wouldn't. But he knows I tell it.
Yeah.
How did you feel when he got ripped in half in Jurassic Park 2? Was it sad to watch?
Yeah. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it,
Okay.
actually. He is so sweet and so kind. One of our crew recently broke her leg. She was our set person on this, and I called Richard, and he was one of the first people to get back to me, and they all sent gifts to her.
That's
it's
amazing.
All these
This
years
is like
later.
one of those rare shows where just like they love hanging out. They still hang out all the time, and it's
Allison
really
was at my
sweet
house
to see.
during COVID. We were all hanging out because, we are a little family. It's the truth of it. And Melissa and Mary doing the book recently, we all chipped in to help. Everyone was there for them.
That's cool. This is a show that also like rewatching the pilot a few nights ago. There's so many extras.
Yes.
There's so many people on screen at all times, just because even like, you're doing the walk and talks and like you're walking by dozens of people in the hallway. How much of that is you versus you pushing that off to someone else to worry about, someone who's in deep background?
No. I look at everything.
You look at everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We built closets for all of our background artists because they did repeat, because she wanted to see the same faces every time.
Yeah.
But I actually think it's more of a testament to Tommy Shalami and his directing and how stunningly talented he is. And he was coming off ER, which was all about background artists moving through the scene while the actors spoke. And this was like the steady cam period of television. And Tommy just always loves to have movement.
Yeah.
He's an appallingly, amazingly talented, that guy. I'm so sad we don't ever we've gone in separate directions. Our paths don't cross anymore, which is what happens in our business, isn't it?
But it also feels like it will at some point.
Yeah,
it feels
I'm
like
sure.
everything comes back for you. You know what I mean? Like
it does.
You will
usually
come back around. Yeah.
I think at one point he said to me, "Why do you keep turning down my shows?" I'm like, "Tommy, I'm working."
Yeah. It's a good problem to have. So
why do you keep turning down his show?
It's a great question. That's actually why we brought you here.
Guess who's here?
Did they, in the beginning of the show, how much stuff did you have to run by Aaron and Tommy and John and everything? Or did they just trust you?
Oh, on a pilot, I always would prefer to run things. I think it's a communication medium, and we should communicate. And I like to share, and I like to show hair and makeup what we're doing, and I like to show the DP what we're doing. I just love the collaboration of it. And on a pilot, that is so important. But then once a show is up and running, and it's halfway through the season, and sort of the looks are established for each character, then John and Aaron and Tommy sort of left me alone at that point. And I was the one reaching out to them saying, "Hey, this new character, what do you think about?" I feel like if they trust you at a certain point, they want to forget about you a little bit. They're busy with other things, which is a blessing and a curse sometimes.
Who was the easiest person to crack?
In terms of
like finding the initial look for a character?
On this show, gosh. I wouldn't say anyone was difficult. I would say that scheduling was sometimes difficult. So we got Rob the Sunday afternoon before we started filming on Monday.
Wow.
So I was in the fitting room waiting for him, and they were still signing his contract. Wow. So I had lawyers, the doctor, they have to have the medical, Michael Hisrick, the producer, Lou Wells, the producer. They were all in the room, which, by the way, I dislike because that's my private space.
That's
And so that the lack of time, the same happened with Stockard, which is why we had, lots of discussions about her breasts in that particular episode, the gown that was low cut. But I got her the morning that she worked.
Wow.
At like 5 a.m. in the morning at Warner Brothers before she worked. So there was really no time for, second chances.
Yeah.
in terms
So you
of
just
the
have to have a
costume.
ton of stuff.
Ton of stuff.
Okay.
That's so interesting.
Was it hard making Rob Lowe look like a normal,
He looks-
mortal human being?
No. Rob is amazing.
He's great.
so funny and fun. And I have the best memories of him knocking on the window of my office from outside and lifting up his shirt when he was jogging and making silly faces at me through the window.
This is the most sweet he's been in something. I just really like him in this.
Especially in the pilot.
Yeah, in the pilot
he is-
especially.
Yeah.
I think too, he's basically based on Aaron. I always thought that this character was Aaron.
Interesting.
And Aaron is so bright and sort of goofy in a way, in the way that, Rob's character is, like
Yeah.
how he meets Lisa Edelstein's character and has no clue what's going on and is a bit lost. And then he meets Leo's daughter and is a little lost.
Mhm.
And I always feel like Aaron's that very sort of endearing, brilliant person that doesn't really know, where they are or what's going on in a moment because they're so absorbed by what they're doing.
Yeah. Lisa is so good in this episode.
She's so good in this episode.
And it's like a real bummer that she doesn't come back, I don't think. And if not, it's like maybe one other episode. But
yeah,
like
she's in a couple more.
Yeah.
Just a
she's
couple more.
so good in it.
Yeah, it really sets up. It's going to be a nice romantic show about those
Yeah,
two
yeah.
in the opening, and then it
Yeah.
kind
it sort of fizzles out,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a type of show that you like to work on? Like, what's the easiest type of show for you to work on? It's
I think
a very
high
vague question.
fashion is easier.
Interesting.
We're talking like Scandal.
Scandal or even this, like a
Okay.
Sudi show, is,
Right.
I find very easy. I shouldn't say that. It sounds like it's hubris. Whereas a show like Shameless,
Yeah.
where you have to make everything look real and a little gritty and dirty, but you also have to still make sure that the actors look good. That's way more time consuming for me. But making people look beautiful when they hand you beautiful people is not such a tricky thing to do, I don't find.
Yeah.
But I think others might disagree.
Is there a genre that you haven't done that you want to do?
I actually told Shonda Rhimes the other day, I really want to do science fiction. And I interviewed for Star Trek once, and then, which I was really wanted
That's
to get
exciting.
it, the movie. And they went with an Australian designer because they were going to be down there
In
so
there,
much.
Yeah.
But I've never done science fiction. But I don't want to do the Lycra one. I want to do the Dune.
Gotcha.
I want to
Sure.
do. I would love
Sure.
to do something that's a little sort of retro fashion,
Yeah.
but gothic in a way.
Yeah. What excites you going into work now? Like, because you've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah.
What are the days where you're like, oh, this is going to be fun?
I like the days when it's busy,
Yeah.
when there's just so much to do,
Yeah.
because that gives me a rush of adrenaline. And the idea that you've accomplished that at the end of a day, for me, I still love it.
Yeah.
People say to me, don't you want to quit? Aren't you over it? I'm like, no, I absolutely love what I
Yeah.
do for a living. I'm I'm a coal miner's daughter. I am so grateful to drive through those gates at Warner Brothers every day. I mean, we're lucky.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was your first job in entertainment?
My very first job I was the set person on Dallas.
Wow.
I
Okay.
know, that's how old I am. But Dallas started when I was in school. It was
Sure.
the last
Right.
2 years of Dallas. So I think that was year 15 and 16, whatever it was.
It went a long time.
And Larry Hagman loved me. And, we would hang out on the set and chat. And then the next year, they promoted me. The next year I was in charge of the whole thing. I was only
Wow.
here for a year.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a clue.
It's also amazing to like start on such a high profile thing, I feel like when most people start, you're like working on stuff that no one's ever going to see.
Right.
And
Yeah,
you're like,
maybe.
nope, it's one of the biggest shows. It's like,
It was sheer luck.
Yeah.
Absolute luck.
yeah.
A
How did
friend
you
of
get
a
that?
friend.
Oh, okay. That's what I was
A
going to
friend
ask.
of a friend. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did lots of other jobs before I did costumes. I was a receptionist at a commercial production company. I worked as a PA. I did craft service. And then someone said, you should really be in costumes. There was no thought process. I was an immigrant who just needed to work.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
simple as that.
I don't mean to steer this conversation away, but I was also craft service on a movie called Chasing Amy, and I'd like to talk to you about
Wasn't it awful?
Yes, it wasn't fun. It wasn't
No.
fun. Literally,
Did
the
people
only
yell
thing
at
is
you?
no. It was like because it was a little indie movie. We were the one table where people were actually kind of nice because they got to get away from everybody, and we had food for them and candy. But it was not easy. It's
No,
not an
I
easy
had
thing.
grips yelling at me because they didn't particularly like that I hadn't got the boiled eggs on time.
Right, got what
you
they
know?
want.
Yeah.
Like I had to go to Ralph's at like 3:30, 4 a.m. Get all the stuff.
Sure.
Go home, boil the eggs. You know.
Wow.
It was
What was it for? What were you craft service on?
for a commercial for Lincoln Mercury.
I thought that was you.
remember it.
I was okay.
It was
okay.
you that was yelling at me, wasn't
No.
it? I remember on Raleigh Studios. I remember it to this
yeah.
day. It's where all the commercials took place.
Mhm.
I know that Ralph's then. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a great Ralph's right there. I was just watching in the scene where they were in the diner right there, looking outside. I'd never noticed it before. There's so much wind
Mhm.
outside, and then the next shot there's no wind,
No wind.
which I think is very fun. That's this season you got nominated for the Emmy, right? Season 1?
Yes.
Yeah. And you had already won 2.
Yes.
What was the experience getting nominated? Were you disappointed when you didn't get it for this?
I was absolutely relieved. I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
want to. I actually don't enjoy those events, and I really don't enjoy getting up on a stage.
Yeah.
And I was rushing. I was late to get there, and I was tying Aaron's bow tie in the aisle as it began. And he said, "You've got this," and I was like, "Oh, really?" I genuinely mean that. I don't want to get up on that stage.
Yeah.
It's not who I am. I'm a
Sure.
behind the scenes person. I always want to send my assistant or, the crew. I always think we should send the set people because they're
Yeah.
the ones that do all the hard work,
Sure. The other 2 were the same year?
The other 2 were, 2
Not
years
the same
in a
year
row.
as this, but it was 2 years in a row. Oh, okay. Do you remember who presented them to you?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you remember being up on stage, or is it just like total blur?
What I do remember is it was when the Emmys used to be fun. We were at round tables and they served alcohol, which they don't do now.
Very Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
And the waitress at our table was a customer who had
Oh, wow.
worked for us. And this was her, second job. And I remember her bringing lots of alcohol to our table. And I didn't want to go up. And my producer, Chris Chulak, who I then did ER with, sort of basically had to drag me up to the stage.
Mhm. That's I get that though.
Yeah.
I get it. Like I get it. It makes
Yeah.
sense. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's not what
scary.
we do.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
I mean,
no. It's
So,
scary.
At award time, do people come up to you all the time and ask what they should wear, or like, can you help them? Yeah, it's got to be annoying. Right?
Halloween is not my favorite holiday.
Oh my gosh.
I get so many phone calls from people I haven't spoken to in 10, 12 years. And they're like, could you?
Do they just cut right to it, or do they just kind of BS
They,
for a little
they
bit and
always
then
say,
also?
hey, how are you? And I think, oh, are they calling me because they're going to offer me a job?
Right.
And then slowly but I kind of know now. Any 2 to 3 weeks before Halloween or any awards
Just
ceremony.
don't answer your phone.
Yeah. I had someone call me recently. What was the latest awards? Was it the Grammys? Was it? Whatever the last
Yeah, I
one
don't
was.
know.
And it was the morning of.
Oh my gosh.
And they called me and I was like, no.
Was it Stocker Channing? She's
No,
just
it wasn't Stocker, bless her
gone to the
heart.
last minute. I was going to ask her what I should wear next Halloween, but I think that would be awkward now.
Do you do Halloween?
No.
No.
I'm happy to hand out candy.
Sure.
I've got the same witch's hat I've been wearing for 20 years. But no, it's really put me off.
Yeah.
Sure.
Don't enjoy it at all now,
Yeah.
all the dressing up.
Can you watch a TV show or a movie without thinking about the costumes?
No.
Is that annoying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really a horrible person to go to a movie with. I don't speak during the movie,
Yeah.
but afterwards I critique it. And
yeah.
and I actually don't enjoy watching anything I've worked on because I always think I could have done that better. Like
Yeah.
that patch that just went by didn't
Uh-huh.
look so great. And look at her buttons pulling. See, I
Uh-huh.
will
Took
just
me right out of it, Lyn.
critique myself every step of the way. And
But I mean, we were also talking earlier. You were saying that everything looks dated.
oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't it though?
I mean,
Well, it's of its time,
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
of its time. It's 1999 or 1998. Whenever you guys shot this,
And at
you
the
know?
time, I thought it was, and like that suit is a beautiful Calvin Klein suit
Yeah.
that Allison's wearing. And at the time, I thought, oh, it's so pretty. And now I look at it and I think, oh dear.
But I still, she looks good in it. Like
Oh,
it's,
she does look
and
good.
in my
She looks
brain,
good in
that is
anything.
CJ,
Yeah, she's-
you know?
Yeah,
Like, that's what it
Absolutely.
is.
But it made me realize that the 90s is not one of my favorite periods. When I had to go back and do it again for Little Fires Everywhere, I kept looking at everything thinking, oh gosh, really?
Yeah.
It really isn't my
grunge,
favorite.
though. Grunge is so good.
The
Flannels,
grunge on the West
flannel.
Wing?
Yeah. Am I watching a different show?
I know. Where
No,
have
in
you been?
90s clothes. I like the flannel look.
Yeah, I do too.
And this was a location, obviously. This
Yeah.
was not in
No,
Patrick. This was in Washington, D.C.
Yes, this is not the
Can you
WBI
tell?
club.
I mean,
oh, there's the White House.
But now this could be done. They do it on the volume
that's
and
true,
do
yeah.
it.
I don't think you can get this close to the White House now, can you?
No.
No.
Yeah, but they loved you guys. That's why.
Yeah.
They
That's-
did love
that's
us.
what it is.
Yeah, they
It's
did.
interesting that the Bush, not to get, whatever,
Right.
but it's interesting that they didn't embrace you guys a little more because the show always had a more positive spin on Republicans.
I
in
thought
general. You know what
so.
I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
for
it
sure.
is the dream version of
Yeah.
Republicans.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that they wouldn't, like, at least
Try
do
to
a
embrace
little
it.
bit,
Yep.
And I'm
you know?
sure it wasn't him personally. I'm
Sure.
sure it was like whoever I forget who his
Yeah.
spokespeople
Yeah.
were, but
Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
It would have helped them a little bit.
I'm
Like
sure,
people
yeah.
like them for sure.
Well, I don't know that the audience knew whether we had access or not, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I got to give him a pass on that.
Yeah.
Nowadays they make a big deal of it, and like social media.
Oh,
They're
totally.
they're
Oh,
working
it's a
in
different
unison.
time,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do wonder sometimes how much bigger this show would have been if we'd all been, on tweeting on social media or
Yeah.
whatever
Sure.
in the way we did on Scandal, where we had Thursday nights and the audience could chat to us.
Mhm.
What would have happened with this show?
Now-
Although it was such a huge hit anyway, but
Scandal had its own clothing line, correct? That
yeah,
people
we
could
did.
people could buy things from the show, like that the characters wear. I think that's amazing. How did that feel?
It was so much. We had a blast,
Right.
and it sold out.
That's crazy.
I mean, it literally sold out within like hitting the stores within. I think 2 weeks they had to do a second drop.
That's amazing.
It was amazing.
And she changes every scene, right? That character constantly is changing her clothes.
Shonda loves. It doesn't matter what the timeline is in the story.
Right.
She just loves fashion, and I love her for that. She is my biggest advocate. I'll call her and say, "Should I?" And she goes, "Lynn, you do you.
Mhm.
You do whatever you want to
Wow.
do," which is
That's
another
a great
gift.
Yes. Wow.
She's amazing.
And you also had Bridgerton wedding dresses. Queen
we're
Charlotte,
doing
right?
another drop of those this year.
Wow.
So Patrick,
Yeah,
If you'd like a
I'm
wedding
ready.
dress,
I would love
Patrick,
one,
let
yeah.
me know.
If you have any comps, I would love one.
That I'll do. Lisa looks so beautiful in this scene. It's so sad, this moment between them.
Yeah.
see, I didn't know it was going to be. Like I thought, they're going to get back together.
Yes,
like,
yes,
yeah, it
yeah.
really seemed like it was headed there. And it makes me sad.
Because he did like her.
He did.
Yeah. She's so good.
She's a great
She's
actor.
so good on House. She's so good on everything.
I turned House down. Isn't that sad?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Were
I
you
didn't want to
busy?
do another medical
Oh,
show.
sure,
I
sure.
just thought, wow.
Sure. Would you rather take on if you knew that House was going to go for 9 seasons or whatever it did, it was
I
something
still
like
wouldn't
that.
have done it.
You still wouldn't have done
That
it.
means she's
No.
doing something she wanted to do for 9 seasons.
Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah.
What about a Star Trek medical show?
I would absolutely
Yes.
do
All right, good.
that.
All right, I'm going to start pitching.
When you sign on for a pilot, do you sign a contract like actors do for 7 years or whatever, or is it you're just on for the pilot?
No.
Yeah.
I think you're on for the pilot,
Yeah.
and then they see if they like you.
Sure.
It's that kind of thing.
Sure.
But I love pilots. If I could, I would only do pilots. I love creating the world.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Afterwards, the weekly of it,
Yeah.
unless it's challenging. This show was challenging,
Mm-hmm.
because every week we had a slew of new people.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I like the idea of creating the new looks for new characters. I absolutely adore doing pilots. Other people hate them because they're so difficult, but I
Yeah.
like them because you are literally creating a whole new world.
Have you ever done a pilot where your stuff was fantastic, but the pilot itself was not so good?
Oh, I've done so many
Right.
of those. I've done so many of those that you haven't seen.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
You
going to be
know.
heartbreaking. Some of your best work,
Yeah.
and it's not going to.
Yeah, we did a pilot called Redbird Lane during COVID, and
Mhm.
it had Susan Sarandon, a bunch of amazing
Mm.
actors. And it was a gothic horror.
Oh, wow.
And I had so much fun on it. And then we just never saw it because, just
Would you ever, if another show like that came around, would you consider reusing stuff, or does that just feel
it
boring
sort of
to you?
disappears into the ether
Yeah.
after you've done it.
Yeah.
I would try not to be repetitive.
Sure.
Even
Yeah.
though people haven't seen it, but it
For
doesn't
you
belong to
personally.
me. It's gone.
Sure.
It's in the, wherever Warner Brothers sends things to die. I don't know where it all ends up.
How often would they repeat outfits on a show like this? Because they are, they're
Real
real
people
people
would,
and they're not rich. Like, they have a closet and that's it,
Yeah, they did repeat. They repeated in that the guys would repeat a suit, but we would change the shirt and tie.
Sure.
We would never repeat a suit within the body of an episode. Or we'd also 5 or 6 episodes down, we would repeat it. Because also you like to hold the costumes because you really don't want to be using it in another episode when you also might have to go back and do pickup shots from another one. It gets a little complicated.
Sure.
How often do you repeat outfits?
Me personally, never.
Okay. You throw them away at the end of the day.
How big is your closet?
My personal closet? It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I don't wear most of it. I sort of stick to 3 things a week, basically.
Yeah.
Move things around. I actually don't care what I wear anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You just get to the point of,
Mm-hmm.
no one's looking at the costume designer.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, that's interesting.
They're not.
Huh.
They're always happy to see you on the set, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I always feel like I want to say to people, if I'm on the set, I'm not doing my job.
Mm-hmm.
Because I should really be in the fitting room for the next day's work.
We should talk about the set a little bit because the set is so impressive.
Oh, it was amazing.
Even in the pilot, like there's so many rooms that they built just for the pilot that I assume they expanded on as the show went on. But like, did you have a room that you would hang out in? Was there like while they were filming, I'd go sit in the blue room or something like that?
Yeah, everyone would hang out in the Roosevelt room. And if we were having a production meeting, we'd have it in the Roosevelt room on the set.
Yeah.
But I will say that a lot of the set, it was changed, but a lot of it came from the American president. So they moved it over, which was amazing for John, the production designer, because he already had sort of a skeleton.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the time, I don't know that Warner Brothers was 100% invested. There was a lot of concern about how much money we were spending on a pilot because it's a huge pilot.
Yeah. Because American President's 96 or something like that, and then this would be 98.
Yeah.
So it makes
Smart.
sense that they would still have stuff around.
And it's so funny that we used this oval on Scandal. It was the West Wing set
I didn't
that
know
had been reworked.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's still living. It's actually, doing more work as it continues.
It's the universe. It's the same TV universe.
Yes.
Characters will start crossing over as well. Who's the best dressed president in real life?
In real life?
Yeah, who has been?
Oh, gosh. It depends on the period, doesn't it? Really.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't think any of them were that well dressed.
Not Obama?
I thought he was a little bit boring.
Okay.
I thought it was beautifully tailored. I actually know the person that made his suits.
Right.
They're in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very dapper.
Yes.
I will say that.
Right.
But he, for many reasons, was super conservative in his dress.
Sure. Remember he tried to wear a tan suit.
I was just going to
my
ask about the
gosh.
tan suit.
And the mom jeans. Remember, he got so much flack about that, which was so unfair.
Yeah.
I know they all wear a Brooks Brothers suit, don't they, for the inauguration?
Right. Yeah, you got to dress a lot of people.
Right? You're just watching it. You're like,
there's
even
new
the
people.
Secret Service guy in the back, or...
What was great was that they were all they were there every week.
Right.
Sure.
So really, you did build a closet for all the background. So it isn't quite as daunting as you might imagine.
Yeah.
What a gig for that guy. That he just every week gets to be there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean, it also became a show fairly quickly that cool people wanted to be on.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you were cool if you were on this show.
Gosh.
So
We had
that had to be
amazing-
fun where you're like, here's Alan Alda, here's Jimmy Smits, but even here's Glenn Close or here's, so many insane people came through.
I was a
on
little
this.
nervous fitting Glenn Close. That
Yeah,
was the one I thought, this is, Academy Award winner.
Yeah.
And just, she'd been in all these amazing movies that I had gone to see as a kid. And she was just delightful.
Yeah.
And she's my precursor to Olivia Pope because I thought, I'll put her in white, and I pitched it to Tommy and Aaron. They were like, yeah, go for it. And I always remember that. And when I had the gig with Shonda, I met Shonda. The reason I got Scandal was because of the West Wing.
No, but that makes sense.
Shonda loves the West Wing.
Yeah.
She's a wing nut.
Huh.
And they called me. And I was
Wow.
the one interview. And I remember at the end of my interview for Scandal, and I didn't know who Shonda was. She said, I love your work. She whispered to me. And I thought, wow, this amazing writer says she likes what I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was like a segue from Glenn to Kerry for me.
That's so interesting. Who was the one that you were the most nervous for? Was it Glenn?
Oh, to dress ever in my career?
Yeah.
I think Rosemary Clooney.
Oh, wow.
I had to go to
On
her
ER
house
or on
in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And I walked in and it was this amazing mansion. And there were just pictures everywhere of Rosemary with everybody that my mother and father loved growing up, you know, Sinatra. And I was just sort of standing there thinking, I'm this little kid from Sunderland in the northeast of England who has no connections to anyone in Hollywood. It sort of dates me, but, you know, White Christmas was my mother's favorite movie.
Sure.
And just being in that house with her, it was like Hollywood history. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Did she put you at ease, or was she still intimidating when you talked to her?
She was a little intimidating. Rosemary was very, I mean, come on. She was the number one movie star,
Sure,
and number
of course.
one
Yeah.
for how long?
Yeah. This was a question. Brian and I were talking about this earlier. When someone calls out an outfit in the show and says, "Ugh, you're wearing such an ugly tie," or "You're wearing such an ugly suit," something like that, is that more challenging for you?
That's very difficult for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I always want everything to be
Nice. and look
lovely.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to show many options to people because especially Tommy would say to me, Lyn, they still look too good. You know,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know, that's it. Like I said earlier, making people look not so great is harder in a way. Because your instinct is, I hope, to have good taste, you know. Oh, I love
Here
this
he
one
is.
when Bartlett walks in. You know, he wasn't supposed to be on the show.
What?
He was supposed to be on the show, but not the center of the show. It was always supposed to be wrapped around Bradley and Sam, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and then Martin just had such a good time.
Right.
And all of a sudden they kept writing for him. And then he goes, okay, yeah, I'll do a couple more. And, oh, yeah, I'll do a couple more. So
That's
it was
great.
never supposed to be about Bartlett.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is wild rewatching the pilot because he looks so young.
Yeah.
He does.
He looks like Emilio.
While you're watching it,
does.
like when it was on, you're like, oh yeah, the elder statesman,
Yeah.
you know, Martin Sheen.
Well, we're all older now.
Now we're
isn't
old.
it?
We're old. I'm older than him now in this.
He's sort of like Juliana Margulies, who wasn't supposed to be in ER. She was supposed to die in episode 1. And he just stayed around.
And thank God.
Thank God.
And that's
love
sort of
Martin.
what like Veep sort of became that, whereas like you never saw the president,
Right.
you know, or
Exactly.
it was very rare that people from that office showed up. Yeah, the scene is so good.
What are your memories of Martin?
I think there's have you heard the famous story that he's so lovely and so kind and just so delightful and always gives the most amazing gifts. And then one day I'm standing outside and, you know, the Warner Brothers tour goes by and it's a cold day. And Frankie, my set person who just broke her leg, calls me. I'm standing outside the stage. She goes, oh my God, Lyn, we've lost Martin's jacket, his coat, his overcoat, his Armani overcoat. I'm like, well, it's got to be around somewhere. Do you know? Nobody knows where it is. So I run to Martin. I go, hey, Martin, you haven't seen your overcoat, have you? I mean, did you borrow it for anything? He goes, oh, I just gave it to the lady on the tour. She was cold.
Oh.
So his overcoat for the scene is, you know, being driven around the
Oh,
back
my
lot at Warner
gosh.
Brothers. And because it just didn't occur to him that we might need it.
Yeah.
And so everyone on the lot, all the security people were trying to hunt down this poor woman.
Yeah, poor lady.
Who has no
who
idea.
has no
Right.
idea. Except that she loves Martin
Of
because he
course.
gave her.
And she's leaving that lot with that coat in her head. Like she's like, look what I got.
love this
Yeah.
Armani overcoat.
Wow.
But that's the
amazing.
kind of guy he is. He's a genuinely sweet, darling human being. Delightful man.
Yeah. And so good on the show, too. That's
I
like the
think
other
he's
things.
good in everything.
Oh,
When you look
sure.
back at
He
his
is.
career,
Yeah.
you've got to like, come
I just
on.
watched Badlands for the first time.
Oh,
He's so good in it.
he looks like Jimmy Dean in that, doesn't
yeah,
he?
yeah.
I mean, it's just
the outfit
like,
is great in that. The like jean outfit.
So he was not supposed to appear after this one for
he was not. They thought he'd come back
In
for
and
a
out.
couple, but
Okay.
they didn't think. They wanted it, the story. I think the original, what I understood, and I could be wrong, was it was also always supposed to be about how the West Wing ran,
okay.
as opposed to about the president.
Right.
And so the focus was not to be on him, and then he was just so good in it, and then. I just don't think he wanted to do a television show
Sure.
full time,
Yeah.
knowing how grueling that would be for him.
He just got eased into it.
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
And I think he enjoyed. I really do
Oh.
think he enjoyed it.
Well, he probably also, I assume most of them didn't realize that this show would be so filmic.
Yes.
you know? And once you see, you're like, oh, this looks like a movie and it feels like a movie. I guess
And
might as well
by
do it
the
because
way,
it's amazing.
That's all Tommy and Aaron.
Yeah.
I mean, Tommy is such a visionary. He really is.
Well, it still looks so good because it's shot on film and it's like, you know, the lighting is so good in it.
Tom Del Ruth.
Yeah. Everyone is at the top of their game in it.
Yeah. I mean, I just think Tom did a spectacular job with the lighting. He really did. Given how big these sets are and how nuanced the lighting is.
Do you remember how many sound stages you were on?
The first year we were near the commissary on much smaller stages, and we had 2. And then by the end, they moved us to the brand new stage, which was huge. And we had 3 then.
Wow.
Because they fit everything that had been on 2 stages into one.
Oh, sure.
But we were never a giant footprint.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like a 5 or 8 stage show. I just finished a show called The Residence over at Raleigh Studios, and that's set in the residence of the White House, and we had 8 stages, and that was one season of a show.
Yeah.
You know, which also speaks to how much bigger shows have become.
Yeah.
They're enormous. So I'm continuing my West Wing, my Oval Office.
I was going to say,
journey.
Do you like being the White House lady?
I know. This one was fun. We had Kylie Minogue and Uzo Aduba, who I absolutely adore.
Wow.
Well, it should be out soon, I hope.
You just get sucked into
know,
it. Like you're watching it and you're like, oh, man.
It's just
Also, Catherine Justin's about to come in.
Oh, my gosh. When
Love
she
Catherine
passed
Justin.
away.
I know.
We were
I met
all
her when I was a kid.
heartbroken. Did you really?
I did, yeah. His secretary.
right.
who
I
comes-
know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how did you meet her as a child?
I did a lot of fundraising for the Relay for Life, which was for the American Cancer Society, which she was like big in because she had cancer a few times
Right.
throughout her life. And they were doing like morning, breakfast chat with Catherine Justin at a hotel near me. And we were like, well, we obviously have to go to this like
Absolutely.
suburban Connecticut hotel,
Right.
to go see her. And she was so nice and like so charming, just exactly what you wanted her to be also.
And a real broad,
Yes, a real broad,
yeah.
but what you wanted. And I loved this show as a kid. So it was like, not to age myself, but getting to see someone from the thing that I loved so much when I was in high school or whatever is like huge when you live in a suburb,
Yeah.
So that was really
But then
exciting
we also
for me.
ended up getting Lily Tomlin, which was for
Also
me,
amazing.
by the way.
Yes.
I have never laughed so hard in my whole life
That's
as I
great.
would. I've forgotten what I'm supposed to say.
Oh,
Do whatever variation you want to say.
let's see.
Oh, it might go to
Oh yeah, let's click off of the X so it doesn't go to the next episode.
well, that was lovely.
It might cut us off, yeah.
That was really nice.
I'm still working with some of the people that were Mike Hisrick, I'm still working with him.
You just say
And
it. 'cause
that's me.
There you go. I clicked over to the next episode.
Well, now we're doing episode 2.
yeah.
This is
That
Thank
was so
you.
great.
That was lovely.
Thank
You're
you
so
for doing
sweet.
it.
Oh, my
I appreciate
pleasure.
it. Do you have
My
any?
pleasure.
What should we plug? You got any stuff coming up that people should keep an eye out?
I'm working on the new show for John Wells that's getting. It's not ER, everybody. That's all I'm
Okay.
going to say.
Okay.
it's even better.
It is even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm working with a lot of people. I've worked like Noah Wiley, John Wells,
Yeah.
and Mike Hisrick, who produced The West Wing. So we're all back together at the Warner Brothers lot. And I just finished the show called The Residence with
Great.
Uzo Aduba, and I'm hoping it comes out in March next year
Yeah.
on Netflix.
Amazing.
We'll see. It's just fun to be back in LA.
Yeah.
Can we
We're
all
excited
just
to have
work
you
in
here.
LA,
I
please?
know.
That would be
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it'd be really
Everybody out there, please keep the work in LA so I can sleep in my own bed at night.
nice. It's nice.
Well, we
Thank
can't
you,
wait to have
guys.
you back
Thank
for
you.
Studio 60, and we'll talk to you then.
Thank you for everything. You're amazing.
See ya.
Thank you.
I want to watch this show now,
Yeah.
and I know that it's just going to take up all my time if I do. So
yeah, but I think
yeah.
it's worth it.
yeah,
It's a show that like there's a little bit of a dip in the middle.
really.
Well, Aaron Sorkin leaves the show.
Does he?
Yes,
Why?
to go do new things
Oh,
and burnout. He was writing every episode.
wait, really?
Yeah, and
Oh, wow.
also Sports Night was going at the same time. Wow. And he was also writing almost every episode, if not every episode of
Right.
Sports Night.
Right.
And there were health issues going on. There was a lot of stuff
Oh,
going
no.
on in Aaron
Okay,
Sorkin's
okay.
life. You can Google it. It's out
Right.
there. So he leaves at the end of 4.
And how many seasons are there?
There's 7.
Wow.
5's a little tough, but then I think 6 and 7 are good once Alan Alda and Jimmy Smits come in.
Wait, who's the president by the end of the show?
It's still Martin Sheen.
Okay.
But they are, the last 2 seasons are the new election.
Wow.
Like it's Alan Alda
Were they
versus Jimmy Smits.
Who wins?
Do you want me to tell you?
Alan Alda wins.
This is a spoiler.
Jimmy Smits wins.
Jimmy Smits
Yeah,
wins.
because you want to. Yeah.
But it is very weird because it's before the 2008 election.
Right.
But the two characters are very close to McCain and Obama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like weirdly ideologically
Right.
and just like, the way that the campaign was run is very similar. So it is interesting to watch it
Was
before
there
that.
an intention to continue with Jimmy Smits and the network didn't pick it up?
I
or?
think they thought about it,
Oh, man.
but I don't know what the reason is that it didn't happen.
Listen, she was great.
She was great. I hope she comes back. There's so many things I want to talk to her about.
I want her to stay far away.
Oh.
We have static. We've been emailing back and forth. It
Yeah.
got heated. I said they're just clothes. Look, they're just clothes, Lynn. And she was like, what is that supposed to mean? I said, you know what that means.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't on any of these emails.
No,
Can you leave me on the emails when you're talking to guests?
No, I'm in heated conversations with every guest we've had.
Who else have you talked to?
Literally every guest we've had, I'm not getting along with at this point in emails. Whatever they do, I go, guys, it's just. And you know who got really mad is Mara.
Why?
It's just Melrose Place. She goes, there's no such thing as just Melrose Place. I said, fine, Mara, that's what you're going to be. But I have a way to make it up to her.
How?
I'm going to dress up as an old lady and take care of her.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
I think
no
you've got
problem.
it all figured out.
I do have it all figured out.
I'm really nervous about bringing you around future guests now, though.
I'll be really nice with Cameron Crowe. He's our next guest, and I will not send him angry emails. I won't be like, it's just writing, Cameron. It's just directing.
Yeah.
Because when he does it, perfect. Anyway, when Cameron Crowe's on, I'm going to be a perfect little gentleman.
Okay. That's interesting because you're big. You're very tall.
Right, but in email,
Very
I act
little.
like a perfect little gentleman. A perfect little.
Can we get a little more of that energy on this show?
I mean,
Right
depends on
now,
the
let's
guest.
see a little bit of what that would be like.
Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, we should do that on the show.
You like that guy better?
Yes.
Huh.
Watch. Let's pretend like we're watching something right
Well,
now.
all right. Who's the guest?
The guest is Lyn Paolo. We're watching The West Wing.
No, I already did that one. Do another one.
The guest is Kermit the Frog, and we're watching the Muppet movie.
How could you expect me to be anyone but me if Kermit the Frog's our guest?
You're a perfect little gentleman.
Kermit's a perfect little gentleman.
I know.
I'm not going to bump against his thing. No. Oh, forget it.
Okay, I'll pick a new guest.
No, it's too late. I don't feel like a perfect little gentleman anymore. You made me angry. Now I'm a big angry guy. I'm an imperfect large gentleman.
People would not like you when you're angry, and I know that for a fact.
Should my production company be imperfect large gentleman?
Do you have a production company?
I don't. I have a.
Do you
I
have
had
an
to come up
LLC?
with a bit. Yeah, I had to come up with a name for that.
Do you want to tell us what the name is?
Not really. I mean, can
Why not?
people?
No.
It's well, at the time, a lot of rap songs had the word bum rush in it.
Uh-huh.
So I asked for that, and they said, "Why do you want it?" I go, "Because I like some of the songs that's in it," and now it's in that. And I've actually been asked by a few rap groups or rappers
Yeah.
and music labels if I'll give it to
Really?
them, and I don't. Yeah, you pick 3, and then they see which are available.
Yeah.
And Bum Rush was number 1.
Wow.
Number 2 was Boomstick, which is
Army of
from
Darkness.
Army of Darkness, and number 3 was Borophyll from Billy Madison.
Oh, okay.
And they were all available, surprisingly.
Wow.
And 4, if I had it, was going to be Blue Duck, also from Billy Madison. And Bum Rush was the one I went with, and it's been that for 25 years.
I don't think I realized you were such a Billy Madison guy.
I love it. Yeah. Also, if you look at the 6th Grade Superstar,
Yeah.
and in Toy Academy, the 2 books, one's a book series, one is the book I wrote, available on Amazon. It says copyright Bum Rush. I'm like, oh, that's not good for a kid's book. Like
Interesting.
So Bum Rush.
Do you think you'll ever change it?
No, I think it would be bad luck at this point too.
I was going to say, what is the amount of money that someone would have to offer you? If someone came to you and said, here's $17 million.
Yeah, I do it for $17 million, but
If someone came to you and said, here's $14 million.
yes, 14, yes.
If someone came to you and said, here's $7 million.
Yes.
If someone came to you and said, here's $25.
No. That's too much
25,000.
work. No.
$1 million.
Yeah, I think I'd have to.
$500,000.
Yeah.
100,000.
No.
200,000.
Yes. We figured it out.
130,000.
This is super boring.
130,000.
130,000. Yes, I would.
110,000.
Yes.
104,000.
I actually have a story about this kind of thing.
Okay, but we're not done yet. 104,000.
Yes.
101,000.
No.
102,000.
Yes.
101,500.
500. No.
101,700?
No.
101,900?
No.
101,999?
Yes. That's the least.
101,950?
I'm quitting the podcast. You know, the movie I made, Big Helium Dog, I needed a company for
Which
that.
is coming out on Blu-ray.
Yes.
If not out already.
Oh, who knows? My company was Helium Works because of Big Helium Dog. And I got heliumworks.com back in 97 or 98. And 2 or 3 years ago, someone reached out to me on behalf of a balloon company that wanted to give me $15,000 for Helium Works, and I have never used it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah, you can have it. I don't care. Like, and they kept calling me and going like, you need to sign this and this and this. And I go, stop. This is too much. They go, it's too much for $15,000. I go, please just stop this. Yeah. And they never got back to me. So I said, I messed up.
Wow.
Yeah. $15,000.
You should reach back out.
Nah, I have it still. I'm going to do something with it someday.
Can I have it?
What are you going to do with it? Sell it to the balloon company?
Yeah.
No.
If I asked you for it, would you fill out the paperwork?
What are you going to do with it?
I don't know. I got rid of my LLC because I wasn't using it.
What was it? What was yours?
That was just so funny.
Oh, that's right. Because you have a where have I seen? Oh,
there's a little. That's my production company, my unofficial production company, because there's a footage of me from 1994 or something. I'll put in the audio right here. So that was my unofficial one, and I used it when I was doing live shows, but then I wasn't really using it anymore, and I needed to pay $800 to re-up it for the next year.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So then I just got rid of it.
So I can have it.
I guess you technically could. I probably shouldn't even talk about it here.
It's too late. It's talked about. I always wanted to if I did a studios or an actual production company, I would do 1989 studios, because that's the year that I was like really started to love movies. And
Batman.
A ton of them.
What else?
Really?
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon 2, Back to the Future 2, Ghostbusters 2, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, License to Kill, Young Einstein.
What's Young Einstein?
Are you serious?
I don't know what that is.
Yahoo Serious?
No.
They wrote and directed a movie about young Einstein. It was a huge underground, like it
I don't know it.
Released in theaters and did very well.
That's not the Einstein movie with Walter Matthau?
No, that's IQ.
What's Young? I don't know what Young Einstein is.
Look it up, man. Yahoo Serious stars in it.
Okay.
Come on, man. So anyway, I that's the year I was like, oh, I want to make movies. Karate Kid 3.
Sure.
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Sure.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
It was a fun.
It was a wild year. Thank you for watching this one. It was a very fun one. We hope to have you back next week. We got a really good guest next week.
Do we really want to get people's hopes up for this?
I feel like we should, right?
It's Cameron Crowe.
Oh my God.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Hey That's Me, a commentary podcast. This has been a That Was Just So Funny production. Your hosts have been Patrick Ottner and Brian Lynch. You can find out more about the show at heythat'smepod.com or on social media at heythat'smepod. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/commentary, where you can find out about guests early, submit questions for us to ask on the show, or even do a commentary to your own favorite movie with me. Our music was by Alex Peabody, and our art was by Abigail Noy. Special thanks to Annalise Nelson and the Burbank Podcast Studio. Be sure to leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Please tell your friends about this show.